Hey, good morning, everybody. This is First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich. It's just about lunchtime here on your Monday, October 1st. Hard to believe we're in October already. Pretty complicated setup going on today weather-wise. There is some potential for severe weather, but right now I'm not overly concerned until later tonight and possibly early tomorrow morning. You can see what I'm looking at right now. It's a pretty complicated weather setup right now. If I turn off some of this stuff, you can see what we have going on this afternoon. We've got basically a slight risk for severe storms in this yellow area today, basically from Chattanooga down to the Florida Panhandle. But when you look a little bit closer at some of this information, you start to see what the potential for tornadoes is, because that's the potential I'm looking at today. Tornado potential, let's look at just that. You can see this yellow area, that's a 10 or 5% probability of a tornado within 25 miles of any point on the map. But notice this green area, this is a 2% probability, and this is very close to the Charlotte area, the upstate of South Carolina. And something we need to keep a very close eye on as we go into the afternoon hours. When you look at everything going on this afternoon, the first thing you notice is we're wedged in. And what I mean by wedged in, you see these arrows, that's northeast winds across our area. So right now, we've got winds coming in like this, which is keeping us nice and stable. And if you look carefully, you can actually see where this warm front is. It's roughly right in here. Everything south of this boundary is warm, humid, unstable air where we could get severe thunderstorms. North of it, this is all stratiform rain, just not a lot going on. And then we have the cold front, which is back in this region. Where these two meet up right in here, we call this the triple point. This is an area, if this rotates up in this direction, that we could see some strong, possibly severe storms. The potential is these will rotate. I'm watching this area down here in South Carolina and southern Georgia. You can see it's in the 80s down there, and the sun is out. Also notice dew points in the 70s. Very rich air down here. So as this gets advected or transported north, this is an area we'll have to watch along the warm front for development later this afternoon. In fact, let's look at some of the model data. I'll turn some of this stuff off. We'll turn the radar off, we'll turn everything else off, and just turn the model data on. This is that thunderstorm fuel, or CAPE we call it. This was early this morning, and anywhere this goes, you have instability to get storms. And if you notice right along that warm front, we start to see the CAPE really increase, or the instability. It gets very close to Chester, York, Union County, South Carolina, eventually works its way up to Charlotte. But notice the highest risk is actually down in South Carolina. You're talking down in this region, 3,000 to 4,000 CAPE, which is pretty high for this time of year. And with all the shear, we could see some rotating storms or supercells. Notice the Western Carolinas stay relatively unscathed. I think the wedge holds on. It's really going to be I-77 and points east. So if you take I-77 roughly right here, everything in this section we'll have to watch for tornadoes later tonight and early tomorrow morning. This is well into the overnight hours as we go towards early on your Tuesday morning. In fact, let's put it all the way to Tuesday at 7 a.m. and you can see the CAPE is beginning to wane just a little bit. So there's two areas we have to watch, the warm front and then the cold front moving across the region. So let's go back and look at simulated radar. This is basically future radar. We'll start this morning. You can see all the stratiform rain we have. Let's go to this afternoon. Here, and you can see the broken line of showers and thunderstorms. These are ones that possibly could be severe this afternoon back towards the west in parts of Alabama and Georgia. These would be potentially rotating storms, but also watching here along the warm front. Remember, the cold front is here and the warm front is running right in here. So anywhere along that front, we would have the potential for some rotating thunderstorms. Let's go out into the afternoon hours. Notice the cold front gets active pretty much all day long, but notice the cell that pops up here pretty much right over Lancaster, moving up through Union County. That's something we'll have to watch. There could be some very isolated supercells that develop along this warm front right in here. Remember, the warm front's right in there, and it's moving north later this evening. So that's something I'm going to watch this evening. Could be a late night. This is into the overnight hours. Look at that cell moving north. That's the one cell we'll have to watch, and then we'll have to watch this second line. This is the cold front coming in from the west. Right now, we're in the overnight hours here. We're probably closer to midnight here. Excuse me, that's not the actual warm front. That's the cold front. Let's change that up. That's the cold front back towards the west. That'll have a secondary line of storms likely along it. So right in here, we could have another batch of severe thunderstorms possibly rotating, moving through. So let's go into the future. There's that line of storms moving across the area. Notice the individual cells. These could be supercells as well early in the morning. And then we go into tomorrow afternoon. It looks like another line tries to form with some heating, but mainly east of I-77. You got to remember, we've got a lot of shear going on in the atmosphere with this thing. This is this big, broad area of low pressure, and I'm going to loop this a couple of times. This has got plenty of spin with it to produce the shear to get rotating thunderstorms. The one ingredient that is missing over the Carolinas right now is instability. You need lift. You need to get a thunderstorm to get high enough to tap into that wind shear to start rotating. So at this point, we want to see the clouds and rain hold on as long as possible. We do not want to get this warm, soupy air mass down to the south up in here. So I'll keep an eye on it throughout the afternoon and through the evening. Of course, I'm on News Channel 36, NBC Charlotte, starting at 4, 5, 6, and 11 tonight. And I'll be there all night if the threat persists into the overnight hours to keep you up to date online and on TV. Hope you have a great Monday, and let's hope we stay wedged in. That's the key word. Stay wedged in today. That'll keep the severe weather away.